Hello everyone and welcome to another game I played on PTCGO. For this match I'm going to be playing against English Victini, as you guys saw from the versus screen. He's actually a YouTuber, so I will post a link to his channel in the description. He posts a lot of openings on his channel and a lot of PTCG related stuff, so I highly recommend you guys check his channel out. So as you guys might be able to tell, he's playing some sort of Landorus deck, as we saw from the mulligan, and I'm going to be playing a Flareon based deck, but I've updated it for the current metagame and included Beartick and Raichu as my two main attackers. And I guess my opponent, the English Victini, has figured this out. So I'm actually leading off with a double Eevee. This is quite bad. But I did get a Pokemon fan club, so I'm going to actually get two Cubchews, since him leading off with Landorus leads me to believe that this is probably the best attacker to go, and I'm actually going to attach a Psychic Energy onto the bench Cubchew. So the Psychic is for Sigilyph in case I want to attack with it, but Sigilyph is in here primarily to stall. So you can track our conversation if you want here on the side, but he's going to be attaching a Strong Energy and then a Muscle Band, and then we see a Karina. So he's already off to a explosive start here. He'll be able to get the knockout, and he's going to grab a Lucario with that Karina, and let's see what item he grabs. So maybe he'll get a Muscle Band, but it looks like he got an Ultra Ball off of that. So maybe he wants to get something else into play. He's going to discard a Fighting Energy and a Laser. And we see a Trubbish. So this is a Garbodor, Landorus, Lucario. Sort of a deck that's been rising in popularity. My opponent's going to get the knockout since Eevee is weak, and he will deal 30 to the bench Eevee. So here I'm going to evolve into Flareon, and I do have a Beartick in hand, along with an Evo Soda, so I'll be able to get two Bearticks here, which is sort of the attacker I want to be using for this. I may also want to power up a Sigilyph, just because Lucario is weak to Psychic, and if I can avoid the ability Lock from Garbodor, then it might be a good thing here with Safeguard. So I will hit Landorus for the knockout actually here and take two prizes. So my opponent took one on Eevee, and now I am in the lead. He's going to send up Lucario, and he is going to play Karina. So if he plays a Professor's Letter or has an energy in hand, he will be able to just attack me this turn. Looks like he has a hand of 3. So he's going to grab a Landorus, the non-EX variety, the one with the Shout of Power, and maybe bench that right now. He could also go for an Ultra Ball, and if he has an item in hand, just activate Garbodor's ability. And he actually goes for the Professor's Letter. So with that, he'll be able to attack me this turn, and he'll be able to bench that Landorus if he wants to. So he attaches a Fighting to Lucario, so he can hit for 30, since he doesn't have a Muscle Band or a Strong Energy. But if he puts down a Fighting Gym, that will modify that damage a bit as well. And then we see the other option. He plays a Hypnotoxic Laser. So he could also play a Veerbank City Gym. And it looks like he succeeds on the Sleep Flip. So this is kind of annoying that I'm already asleep. But I do have a DC in hand. And then I play Escape Rope, so it could potentially still attack next turn. So he's going to hit me with Missile Jab for 30, and I take 10 due to the poison between turns. Unfortunately, I stay asleep, so this is quite crucial here. I'm going to play down another Cubchew, then play a Sigilyph. And here I'm forced with an awkward decision here. I can play the Juniper and discard everything in my hand, or play that Sacred Ash, but I don't really want anything from the discard pile back, so I'm just going to Juniper my hand away. I may need that Sacred Ash in the future, but right now it's not important, but I may live to regret it. So as you can see, my opponent here still has me asleep, and they're beginning to power up Lucario, so now it has 2 fighting energies. Fortunately, none of them are strong energies. And he's going to hit me, and fortunately I do wake up this time, but I am heavily damaged. So now I'm going to bench an Eevee down, and my opponent says misplay. It looks like he used not the attack he wanted to. And with that, I will attach a DCE onto my bench Beartick and then N. So I'm fine with going down to 4 cards, but I kind of want something else in hand. And I get my 3rd Beartick, so I play a 3/3 line in this deck. So it's just what I wanted. So I will Stronghold for 80. Again, I'm not really doing much damage here because Lucario isn't weak to water. But I can still attack with Sigilyph potentially. That's why it does have an DCE attached to it. But now we see the Fighting Stadium, so that is not good. And I did just check my discard pile there, and noting that Leafeon is there. So I do play Leafeon and Flareon just because Leafeon's kind of a decent attacker overall in situations where your opponent just has so many energies on their side of the field. Energy Crush is just a good attack to deal with that. So my opponent is now going to Ultra Ball for Garbodor, and we might see a Tool right now just because Sigilyph is posing a threat. And then we see Sycamore, and then the Floatstone goes on Garbodor. So I don't actually play in Starling Megaphone in this version of the deck, just because the only thing with abilities is Sigilyph, but after this I did end up teching one in. So my opponent is going to hit me for the knockout, and now we're even on the prize trade. So I'm going to send up Beartick. It's not going to do much damage, but I don't know what else to send up. Sigilyph is useless now that its abilities are off. And I will attach a Water Energy and then play a Palpad, getting back an N and a Juniper, and then just end my hand away. So I did manage to get a Muscle Band, so that'll help. Unfortunately, it won't be enough to get the knockout, especially because my opponent has a Floatstone in the active. So Icy Hold does more damage for each energy in the retreat cost, but since the retreat cost is 0, base damage is 20, plus the 20 from Muscle Band, that only does 40, so that's really unfortunate. But my opponent is only 60 away from the knockout, so it does give me some hope. And he doesn't have anything all that menacing powered up yet, but Landorus is down there on the bench with 1 energy. And now we see a strong energy go on Lucario, and then a Karina. So with that, my opponent is dedicating his energy onto the active, even though it's close to knockout. So maybe he has something else in mind. He did fetch another Lucario EX with that Karina and a Muscle Band. So maybe he'll be able to attack with that if he has an energy switch of some sort. Or maybe he's just going to get it ready for the next turn. And here my opponent is going to hit me for 120. That's short of the knockout, fortunately for me. And I'm going to evolve my bench Pikachu into Raichu. So not a great attacker for this match at all. But I figure it can do a decent amount of damage now that Lucario is heavily damaged. I will Ultra Ball here just to discard more Pokemon. Getting a Flareon here into play as well, and then Junipering my hand away. So I did manage to get a DCE. I don't exactly know what to play it on. I'm going to choose Raichu just because it can hit for quite a bit right now, but it might have been better played on Flareon. I just don't have that many things in the discard pile yet. But it looks like Beartick will go down, and now my opponent is going to retreat into Lucario. So the one on the bench is now, I think, 10 short of the knockout. So I can just escape rope it in, or potentially get a Lysander, which I do play. And my opponent's going to Chorus. He attaches a Fighting Energy onto his active Lucario. And then he's going to hit me for 50 and then knockout. So here I'm just going to send up Pikachu, partly because it has free retreat, and I just can maneuver from that. So I don't really know what the best move here is. I think I should play this Chorus, but I'm going to attach a Psychic Energy onto Flareon. And I'm just looking through my discard. I don't have enough to make a Vengeance worthwhile here unless he sends up something with less HP. So I will play Chorus. I do get that Escape Rope, however, so I can retreat into Raichu and at least buy myself some time. So hopefully he'll send up something that I can potentially knock out. So I'm going to retreat Raichu and send up Sigilyph as kind of a sacrifice here, but then play Escape Rope. So now he's going to switch into Landorus and I have to switch back. So I will here force him to discard an energy if he wants to take the knockout. If not, Flareon will be the sacrifice. So I did Ultra Ball, getting a Pikachu just to thin my deck out. I'm not sure if Flareon being in the active is the best move here, but it will force his hand in terms of burning resources. So now my opponent here can use Shout of Power to power up his Lucario that is on the bench with only one energy, or he can manually retreat. So he's going to attach an energy to Lucario from the hand, and then use Energy Switch to bring switch energies from the Lucarios. And now he's going to Karina. So this doesn't look good for me at all. So he gets a switch. It looks like he's not going to pull any fighting Pokemon. And he's going to switch into the Lucario that's now fully powered and knock out Flareon. So I didn't entirely expect that. If he wanted to knock me out with the other Lucario, I would have been okay with that, just because I could have easily returned the knockout. So now I'm going to send up Beartick and N, so I can hit for 80, because this doesn't have a Floatstone on it, fortunately. But this match is definitely not going in my favor. My opponent is going to attach fighting to Lucario and then use a Startling Megaphone to discard the items on my side, and then just hit me for 120. So short the knockout. But here I actually did draw my Lysander. So this is good. I can bring up the Lucario on the bench and knock it out. So I think I will do just that. But that does mean my opponent can get the return knockout. So I use Igloo Hold and knock it out. And I will take 2 prizes. So it might have been smarter to take the knockout with Raichu. But yeah, hindsight is 2020. That actually probably would have been the correct move to make. So there was a huge misplay right there. Because then I could have attacked with Beartick. And but I still would have been sure of the knockout on Lucario, barring I got a Muscle Band potentially. So my opponent's going to knock me out, and I will send up Raichu. So I can Circle Circuit here, but not for much. So I'll bench that Pikachu and then just Circle Circuit, and with that, he'll be able to take the game on the next turn, really. But I will buy myself time here, try to pull something. I switch into my bench Sigilyph, and then I'm going to Escape Rope to see what he sends up. He sends up Landorus, so I will send Pikachu right back up, and then N. But all my opponent needs to do is manually retreat for the knockout. So this is just for naught. And I will Circle Circuit for 60. That's a tongue twister there. And my opponent will Sycamore, so he can retreat into Lucario and then just get the knockout with pretty much any of its attacks at this point, because of Fighting Stadium and the Muscle Band. So I hope you guys enjoyed this match. Once again, you guys should check out the English Victini's channel, and the links will be in the description.